Now that everybody has his headset, I give you an excuse to use it. It's easier for me to talk in English. It's no excuse if I do it in English. Thank you very much for the invitation. I enjoy very much to be here. I am extremely impressed about the way the Spanish market has been developing, and this is reflected in this beautiful feria. So I'm really happy to be here, and I want to show you a little bit what is happening in the world of pellets in other places. And the good news is, it's not only in Spain that it is expanding, it is also expanding in other places. This slide shows you the worldwide production of pellets over the last 15 years. And you can see it's an amazing increase from less than 2 million tons in the year 2000, and in 2013 we have been passing 25 million tons of pellets, so more than a tenfold increase in a little bit more than a decade. So there is a huge growth in this market. You can see the dark part below, that's the growth of pellet production in Europe, and the next is then pellet production in North America, and then that's the rest of the world. So mainly Europe and North America have been seeing this amazing growth, and now it is spreading to other parts of the country all the way to China. Where are all these pellets being used? Most of the pellets produced in the world are currently used in Europe. So of the 25 million tons, about 19 million tons last year have been used in Europe. And from these 19 million tons, about 10 million tons were used for heating, and about 9 million tons were used for electricity generation in big power plants, often as a fuel that is co-fired together with coal. You can see in this slide that the heat market as well as the power market have been growing more or less simultaneously. Over the whole time, about half of the pellets went to one market and about half went to the other market. And as Seth Ginter explained to me, the industrial market will double next year, so probably next year the industrial market will grow faster than the pellet, the heating market. But all over, the speed of growth is impressive. The average rate of growth over this time period is 25% per year. So this is really a nice market to be in. If we look at the heat market in Europe, you can find out it's only a few countries where pellets are used extensively for heating. The largest market is Italy, and Annalisa, my colleague from Italy, will show you what is going on in Italy. Second largest market is Germany, and Martin Beer is here from Germany to talk about his experiences as a trader. Sweden, Austria, France, these are the big markets with a lot of dynamics in France. Spain is already among the relevant markets and hopefully will become one of the big European pellet markets in the future. So there are typically three types of applications that are most frequent. It's the pellet stoves, and these are products that are most frequently used in Spain, Italy, and France. These are the big stove markets where hundreds and thousands of stoves are being sold. Only last week we heard a figure of a comprehensive survey that was done by among, I think, 160 stove manufacturers, pellet stove manufacturers, and the result was that in 2012, 470,000 pellet stoves have been sold in Europe. So that's 2012, that's 2 years ago. So for sure, we are selling more than 500,000 pellet stoves in Europe, with Spanish and Italian manufacturers leading the pack, and then a few manufacturers also from Germany, Austria, and France. Residential pellet boilers
you could call is the premium solution. They are much more expensive, but they also offer more comfort. They heat the whole house. It's not a single room heating. They take the pellets out of a big storage, so there is no fuel handling for the customer. And this technology has been very successful in Germany, in Austria, to some extent also in France, but not so much in the Mediterranean region, and not so much in Spain. Mainly, I believe, because of the costs. And finally, commercial pellet boilers. I wrote the big thing to come because this market is, I think, totally underestimated and totally undersupplied. The potential to use pellets for industrial heat application is very large. There is so much use of heat industrial applications, and pellets are very competitive in this field. And I think there is a lot to be gained here, and we still have a big future of pellet use in this sector, which is only starting to develop now. Why is pellets so successful over this last decade? Well, to a good part because it is a competitive fuel. It is a fuel that has very good properties. It has properties that can be standardized. It is almost a fluid, which makes it easy to transport, easy to supply, to deliver. All of these are good properties, but fundamentally a fuel in the market cannot be successful if it is not competitive, unless it is heavily subsidized. And in the heat market, pellets are definitely competitive. This is just a figure from Austria, but you could show the same figure for all other European countries that would look very similar. Basically, over the last 10 years, the price of oil and gas have increased so much that pellets today are a very competitive fuel with a price advantage between maybe 35 and 50%, or even more, 60%, depending on the level of taxation of oil and gas, and that's changing from country to country. So there is a very significant price advantage of pellets as a fuel, and that's what is actually fueling the success of this fuel. Now, of course, cost of the fuel is not the whole story. Also, the cost of the equipment to use the fuel must be taken into account. And this figure shows you a little bit the cost structure we have. If you look at the bottom, the scale is the capacity in kilowatt. It's a logarithmic scale. Please don't be confused. So it's 10, 100, and 1,000 kilowatts to make it more transparent and more visible, the decline of costs. And on the y-axis is the specific investment costs in euro per kilowatt. So if you look at high-quality residential pellet boilers that are fully automated, they are on the high end of costs, so up to 1,600 euros per kilowatt for a small 10-kilowatt automatic boiler. Very, very high specific investment costs, but of course, on the other side, high comfort. The specific investment costs for these boilers drop very quickly because a 30 kilowatt or a 40 kilowatt boiler costs practically the same as a 10 kilowatt boiler because it's only a little bit bigger, and sometimes it isn't even bigger. There's just a little bit more surface on the heat exchangers. Everything else stays the same. So there is a big decline, and using pellets with such an equipment gets more economic the higher the heat demand is very quickly. On the low end of the scale are pellet stoves. Pellet stoves have specific investment costs that can be 200 euro per kilowatt or even 100 euro per kilowatt. So they are very, very economic, and that's also why they are so successful in the market. That's why 500,000 pieces are being sold, because it's a piece of equipment that has a reasonable price, that offers a high quality of of heat because it offers, in comparison to a log wood stove, continuous heat. It offers automatic operation, so it's very convenient in a way, but still at a quite low price. What we have seen new, or what is new, a new emerging class of products, are low-cost pellet boilers, mainly coming from Italy. So stove manufacturers that are upgrading their stoves to also produce hot water for central heating. These are low comfort but low cost solutions. You have to put in the bags with pellets, and you have to clean the ash rather frequently, but it's a low cost. What you can see also is that commercial pellet boilers are very competitive. So as you go to larger power demand, you are in a very low specific range of investments. I'll skip this one, just a little bit on EN Plus certification. This is the way the volume of certified production has increased, starting with 1 million tons only 3 years ago, and now reaching 6 million tons. Certification of pellets is a key for successful market development, and I can only congratulate the Spanish producers for being 80% EN Plus certified. I think it's a great achievement, a very important precondition for growing the market. Just a glimpse of the prices. There has been, for pellet producers, a very positive development over the last couple of years. Prices have permanently going up, basically because of the constantly increased demand and a slower growing supply. These high prices have now sparked a lot of investment, and now, and also we had a very warm winter, so we see a quite significant drop, and we don't know if we won't see another little bit of a drop next year, because right now the market is, to put it carefully, it's very well supplied. So everybody in the pellet sector hopes for a very cold winter. So I'm done. Here are some of my conclusions. I think it's quite obvious that the international pellet markets will continue to grow. There are still many unexplored places for pellets to go, like the industrial field. There are new markets like the UK, for example, France, that is growing very dynamically, etc. So there is still a lot of perspective for expansion. I think one of the very positive developments in the last 2 or 3 years is the growing international trade also to premium pellet markets, which it creates a new quality of supply security that is very, very important to grow a market. I think the economic conditions for the time being, with Europe just about entering a new economic crisis, will certainly favor low-cost investment solutions and commercial applications. We have been quite concerned about new regulatory constraints, especially with respect to emissions from pellet heating equipment. It turns out that for boilers, we have a good solution. Pellet boilers will, in the future, in the context of the European Eco-Design Directive, will be able to do fine. I'm concerned about the regulations for pellet stoves, which require emission levels of 20 milligrams of dust emissions by 2022, and that's very difficult to reach, and I think there has been a fundamental mistake in putting up this requirement. I hope it will still be possible to revise it. But this is a problem that we potentially have to deal with. Finally, I would also like to mention we do have, in some of the markets, quite sharply increasing competition from heat pumps. That's something that can kind of really hurt our market, because heat pumps have a number of advantages. You don't need the fuel, it comes out of the socket, it has about the same investment and about the same operation costs and less consumer involvement. So we have to look at this competitor very carefully and also focus on markets where this competitor is not competitive, especially where you need higher temperature levels, and that's where the pellets cannot be replaced by heat pumps. So that's some of the conclusions. Thank you very much. And yeah, I don't know, are questions now or no?
Yes, we can do. Yeah. Well, aplausos, por favor, a Cristian. Gracias, Cristian. Vamos a aprovechar que está aquí y si hay preguntas, bueno, hacemos 5 minutos de preguntas. Si no, pasamos al siguiente ponente y se pueden lanzar las preguntas más tarde. ¿Alguna pregunta? ¿Alguien, algún dato que necesitamos repetir? Ha sido una fotografía perfecta del... It was a very nice and clear, as always, picture from the international scene. And thank you. Oh, sorry, one question there. Una pregunta. Sí. Come in Spanish. He knows Spanish, I think. Perdona, di el nombre, tu actividad de la empresa a lo que te dedicas y...
Un placer. Alfredo Martínez, de Grupo Vitaliana par Pellet. Cristian ha estado hablando, somos productores y distribuidores de biomasa, disculpa. Cristian ha estado hablando de que los productores estábamos muy contentos porque había más demanda que oferta. Yo creo que hay un tema bastante importante que yo creo que también se debería analizar, que es los costes productivos que tenemos, sobre todo de la materia prima que utilizamos para la fabricación del pellet, que ha sufrido una fluctuación en los últimos años de cerca del 250%, independientemente también del IVA que pagamos, que en este país es el más alto de Europa. Entonces, o de los más altos, no sé si el más alto, pero de los más altos. Entonces yo me imagino que también habrá una fuerte fluctuación del mercado de la madera en el resto de Europa y a impresión de Cristian, qué tipo de influencia tiene en un producto donde el mayor tanto por ciento de su precio corresponde al precio de la materia y las posibles diferencias de los diferentes productores que estamos en Europa. Muchas gracias.
You get the question?
Sí, entiendo su pregunta, pero voy a responder en inglés porque es más fácil para mí. I think we have a situation now where the import of pellets is starting to play a more important role. And I believe that this import of pellets, mainly from North America, will lead to a stabilization of the prices of the pellets and automatically also of the prices of the raw material. Because if European pellet producers raise their prices above a certain level, above 250 euro or 260 or 270 euro, you will see a large stream of pellets coming in from North America. And that will bring down the price again. And if the price of the pellets are declining, some of the producers will not want the raw material anymore. And the price of the raw material will go down. So I see the future with relatively stable prices. And it has also been said that it is not unlikely that in the future the prices for pellets in the residential market will be linked. There will be a differential, of course, but they will be linked to the prices in the industrial market. And these prices have been very stable in their development. So I see quite an even development, a stable development. I think that's good for the sector, to have not very rapid fluctuations.
Okay, thanks a lot, Christian. Next speaker,